3, 2, 1. Yeah, we ready right now. Got me feeling so free. Got me feeling so free.
All right, welcome back to the Side Quest Hustle. I'm your host, Shad. This is a podcast where we talk about anime, manga, comics, TV, movies, and more. This week, I have some guests here with me. It's my first dual guest episode. And so I have Tom and Danielle from the I Married a Weeb podcast. You can find them at I Married a Weeb all over. They have a website, Discord, Instagram, but I'll let them introduce themselves. Tom, Danielle, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. Thanks for having us, of course. My name is Tom. It's my lovely wife.
I'm Danielle.
Just like her. And we're just a married couple in our 30s trying to watch anime while also juggling having 2 daughters. So it's a bit of a grind, but we're trying our best. And actually, inspired by Shad here, we actually just started doing our own video podcast. We did probably 200 and something odd episodes, just audio. And then we're like, okay, it's time for video. So
I looked it up, did a little research, and you guys are at 231.
Okay, not too bad.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty amazing. So, I mean, 231, you guys consistently put out weekly. And so with that episode count, you guys are about 4 years in?
I think just about, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we started 2020, May 2020.
So, yeah.
And there was last year where I don't know how we were doing it, but we were doing 2 releases a week. Looking back, I don't know how we did that, but
yeah, and it was because it was actually after our first daughter was born, and we're like, man, we're already having a tough time with this. How are we going to do it? Anyways, we'll do 2 episodes a week now. It's like, what are we doing? But we went strong for probably 8 months doing that at least, and that's what really skyrocketed the numbers. We got a lot of people kind of finding the podcast via that. Now we've kind of slowed down. Our biggest thing with our podcast is certainly the people that stick around with us know that we ebb and we flow. We certainly are not the most consistent of individuals, but we try to be as best we can. So
yeah, and I mean, that's one of the things that just starting out, this will be episode 8 for me, technically 8. I did like an intro episode that is like episode 0. So this will be episode 8 for me. And one of the things you guys touch on in your podcast is your family. You have 2 beautiful girls. I have 3. I have 2 boys and a girl as well. So how do you guys manage your family time along with the time to content create?
That's a great question. Not to get brownie points with my wife here, but she is the core of it all. I'm certainly the type of person who I think puts a little too much on his plate, but she's keeping us grounded, keeping us ready to go. But yeah, how do you do it?
Trying to watch anime and do the podcast. That's a great question. Trying to stick to a bedtime routine where I can hopefully, or we can have some time, it's mostly Faye. Like when Violet was a newborn, you got that weird newborn sleep schedule, but at least they're a little potato and they can, be on your shoulder while you can watch 5 or 6 episodes. You're not going to sleep much anyway. But now that they're both going to bed at the same time, we try to watch at least one. Yesterday we watched 3 episodes, which is very rare of
it's a huge day for us.
Cabaneri.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Cabaneri, the Iron Fortress.
So yeah, and I know Tom has a lot of ideas, especially with trying to get us on social media. It is hard sometimes. Faye always wants to be involved. And, we are a little guarded with how much we put her online. So, we just try whatever opportunity we have, we try and do it. So.
Yeah. And I think we've really set up the podcast to be a thing that we don't worry about the numbers. I think our numbers are okay, although I have no reference, so that could be a complete lie. But, the people that are listening to us. You know, we've even had some meetups already. We're like a small podcast, but we've actually had some people come in from out of state, and we had dinner with them and stuff. And when we get to know them, it's just like such a synergy on like kind of the same age group. We're kind of all in understanding. We'll sometimes stress a little bit because it's like, oh, you know, if we don't, you know, get an episode up now, we're going to have to do a filler episode. And we just, you know, like anime, we've actually done a few things. We just put the title as filler, and it's us just shooting the shit, you know, talking about what's going on in life. And most of the time I'll complain like, oh, listen, sorry you guys are getting this type of an episode, but, you know, Faye maybe took a fat one in the tub the other night and we couldn't record or something. So it's like, okay. And then every time in our Discord, they end up coming and they're like, I mean, yeah, you guys just do whatever. You don't have to put a filler on. We do. We got to keep consistent. So they've all been super good with it.
Yeah. I think we have a great balance of having something that we can both connect on, like as a couple, have it be a great hobby, but also not want to let down the community that we have with, as Tom said, putting out filler episodes. So we try really hard, you know, to watch the anime, to have good content. You know, I think it's just striking that balance of still enjoying this as what we originally made it for during the pandemic. And also, you know, wanting to make it enjoyable for everyone.
Yeah. Hoping to every time. And then
No, you guys do a good job. I mean, that was one of the things when I discovered you guys when I decided to start my podcast, and I was kind of reaching out, looking for different creators in that space that created content that was good, that wasn't necessarily them, you know, yelling at each other or like, you know, being all dramatic, but that I could relate to. And that's when I discovered y'all's podcast, and it was one, I believe we're around the same age, a lot of the same interest, and it was relatable. You guys had a family, I have a family, finding that time to content create, talking about the intricacies of raising a kid in these ages. I think it was when you mentioned how she liked Sonic. My son loves Sonic. I mean, yeah, that was like, that Sonic is his jam. He discovered like the old Sonic cartoons. They put them up on Netflix, and I think he's watched like all of the original one that came out in the 90s and the remake that they made in like the 2000s, and like the newer one. I'm not sure if you guys have seen the newer Sonic.
Oh yeah, you better.
Yeah. The one that's on Netflix is like, he was watching it and I was like, it's Sonic, it can't be that bad. And like some of the jokes that they made were really inappropriate.
Yeah, Sonic's a bit of a nuisance.
But the movies, he loves the movies. I think he just started the Knuckles TV show.
Okay.
Yeah, he's ahead of me on that one. Because I was surprised by how good the first Sonic movie was, and so
especially with all that drama that was surrounding it when it first came out, I was like, oh, this is garbage. Watched it with Faye. Suddenly she's loving it. It's a slippery slope, the blue blur, as we call them around here. Very slippery slope. Our oldest, so she's going to be 3, going to give big credit to her. We read her books constantly. As a matter of fact, she's willing to actually give up playtime to just read books sometimes. So she's got such a great vocabulary for a 2-year-old, but it was just so fun. I knew she was getting into Sonic a little too much, but I was like, you know, and Faye, what's Sonic's favorite food? She's like, it's chili dog. Next. I'm like, okay. I mean, how did you know that? That's, you know, so it's escalated. We watched, Sonic Prime. Yeah. So it's been a lot of Sonic.
And when Faye wants to watch the movies, she specifically calls it the soft Sonic because of how like
soft Sonic. It looks cuddly.
Yeah. We're like, okay.
Exactly. But any parents who are like, should I get my kid into Sonic? Should I not? You should, because the best before bed game is let's run like Sonic for a half hour. And out. You know what I mean? Just dead to rights in their bed. So it's a great hobby.
Yeah, definitely. I love Sonic. I grew up on Sonic, the old Sega games and everything. Oh. Man, I was excited whenever they started remaking the movies, and then it turned out to be good. I was super excited about that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Cool. So, for those who haven't listened to your podcast, tell everybody how you guys met.
Oh, absolutely. Would you like?
No, you're a better storyteller than me.
Lies.
And it's I don't have the recollections.
It's my perspective. Yeah. So I suddenly started going into, I grew up. No, so like I grew up very much into art, had very great parents who said like, let's do whatever. So I ended up in art school, kind of majoring in visual effects and animation and stuff. Because obviously when you grow up watching all this anime and stuff, you're like, yeah, I should do that with my life. So I ended up at our school. Doesn't exist anymore. We like to say that. They actually, it's decimated to the ground, and actually it's just a grass field. Sometimes we drive past it, we're like, heck yeah, glad we spent money there. So, and especially when people add, oh, why did the school not exist anymore? They got sued because they lied so much. So, yikes. So that's an L in the chat for that school. But are we saying that anymore? L in the chat? I'm old. Anyways.
I say it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think they're on to like, it's an F in the chat now.
Oh, it's an F in the chat.
Yeah.
All right, we'll take it. F in the chat for that shitty school. So I remember one day, and I was very much, going to school, get it done, get out. I'm not trying to converse with anyone. Made a lot of friends, but I was like, let's just get this done and get out of here. One day I was helping my buddy with his short film, very interesting premise. He wanted to shoot the entire thing on the green screen, and then we would 3D model and put the set in afterwards. I'm like, well, what's the set? He's like, a bar. I'm like, Chris, just find a bar. Why are we going to do this? But it was a fun project. I'm like, yeah, I can help you that day. So we get in the elevator, and I'm like, all right, let's get right to the green screen room. He goes, actually, the fashion students are selling grilled cheese. I'm like, I don't care. Let's go get this done. And he just hits the button. This is my Hollywood movie moment. The elevator doors open, and I just see this beautiful blonde gal selling grilled cheese. Spoiler alert, it was her. And so I was absolutely just dumbfounded because I had heard of her through mutual friends. Actually, at the time,
my best friend was dating Tom's best friend.
Yeah. We kept hearing, oh, we'll introduce you. Just was never happening. Shame on them, if you think about it.
Yeah.
And so I ended up texting my buddy. I'm like, confirm or deny, is that girl that I'm supposed to meet selling those? Yes. I'm like, schmooze time. So we ended up meeting up, getting to know her, just in the hallways amidst the crowd. She was in sales. She doesn't even remember seeing me the first time because she was in saleswoman mode. But
yeah,
okay.
I was the treasury for the fashion. Like when you're a fashion student, one of the classes you had to take was a fashion show, and I was the treasurer. So I was responsible for all the money from donations and any money raised, and then all the proceeds went to a charity that we picked. So I was like, we're gonna get the biggest check ever. I had an eye on the prize. Yeah. So I was like, schmoozing everyone in the hallways. Poor Tom. He has this like
so much
fantastic first seeing me, and I'm just like, I don't even remember.
He's like, okay, you were customer 37. Thanks. Just showing me along or whatever. But she was so much so into the fashion show that we met. We hit it off, and I was like, hey, maybe we could date, and my nerves or whatever. She's like, after the fashion show, I'm not dating you. And I was like, fair enough. And I was a patient guy. I'm like, sure, why not?
Yeah.
So then things went as good as they could, and then to impress one another, and this is actually also a twofer of how you got into anime. was she'd watched, actually, didn't you say you watched a couple episodes of Bleach? Like way back in the day?
Yeah, like my parents would go out and I would have to babysit my siblings, and you're flipping through because you got Dish Network. So you're just scrolling through and it's like, all right, like I'll watch this. Probably it was iToonami, I'm assuming. So one of those, or Adult Swim maybe.
One of the two.
And yeah, I remember watching bits of Bleach. I didn't know what the hell was going on because I'm coming in at whatever arc they decided to air at whatever time I was watching it at. But
yeah, you were probably watching the Mount Arc, and that's where I don't like it. But yeah, so like in the dating phase, we were just finding out things about Shad. I'm like, you haven't watched Harry Potter? She's like, no. I'm like, you should watch those movies. And then the most unfair...
I read the books and I watched the movies.
Fair, which kind of equaled it out. Kind of, because the trade was she would watch Harry Potter and I would watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Those who you don't know, there's about 4,000 episodes of Buffy and there's 7 movies for her. So I really got I got hosed there. But, one time, it was just kind of random. She was like, oh yeah, like that anime stuff or whatever. Dragon Ball Z's like a show. I'm like, it's pretty badass. I love it. It'll get you screaming at the roof, like we all did. But she's like, well, so just Z? I'm like, well, no, it's Dragon Ball, then it's Z, then it's, don't worry about GT. Then we go into something else or whatever. She goes, well, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right. So she went all the way back to, 80s Dragon Ball, somehow got through Goku looking for Bulma's balls and was like, this isn't weird enough for me to, stop watching. And she went straight through, and then it's back when we'd like Snapchat and she'd send like, oh my gosh. Actually, I think I had it on my, I went through an old memory card and it was a saved snap, and she had one that she was like, okay, Goku locked in a room with everyone. There's a full moon out. Uh-oh. And I'm like, yeah, exactly. So it was a good bonding thing of just slowly getting into shows. I like, obviously the podcast being called I Married a Weeb. It's like, I'm a weeb in the loosest of terms. Like, I've watched a bunch of anime. I've grown up with it just like a lot of people, but I'm not the knowing everything. So I'm still at least able to watch so much new stuff with her, but it was really fun the first couple shows of like getting to watch Brotherhood, getting to watch Hunter x Hunter, and then the best show in the world right here, Yu Yu Hakusho. So now to the point where we've watched this show together.
Hunter x Hunter probably 3 times at least. Yu Yu I can't see where.
Sorry, I know. I'm sorry.
Yu Yu Hakusho, yeah. Don't always remember everything that happens, but I've seen it probably 6 times.
Which is great.
It's like watching it the first time all over again.
Exactly.
That's how I feel about Hunter x Hunter. Hunter x Hunter is one of my favorite after One Piece. And I probably rewatch it maybe like, I wouldn't say once a year, but it's probably like once every other year. And it's so good. Same thing with Yu Yu Hakusho. I'm overdue for a Yu Yu Hakusho. I just did a Full Metal Alchemist rewatch. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so I definitely understand that. But I mean, based on that, I mean, who actually married the weeb? Because I mean, from that story there, I don't know.
It's definitely flipping all the time, because like at certain points when it's like I'm super busy with work or stuff, she was doing a little reading club in our Discord, and she's reading Frieren, this manga, and we hadn't watched anything. I'm like, I'm losing it. You're taking over. What the heck's going on? So
well, and I've had stints of definitely during the pandemic when you had nothing to do but watch TV, mm-hmm. and you would work on something upstairs, and I'm just steamrolling Inuyasha. I'm watching all of this stuff solo because they were things that, I didn't think Tom would really care to watch, or was maybe more of like a chick thing. So
Inuyasha is dope for the first 60 episodes, and then you realize, wait a minute, where have we gone? And then it just changes. But one of the, and I think the anime community is pretty much in the same boat here, one of the slappiest endings ever, when you see Sushomaru looking at his dad, and then I forget what the name of the song is, but insert song here. I don't know how heavy you want to edit this, but just one of the best outros. So good.
So Shomaru, one of the best characters of all time.
You know, he's doing it all. But
yes, I think that's one thing I appreciate about y'all, because y'all remember the voice actors and the names of songs. I can identify who they were and what they played, and I know the songs. I suck with the names though.
No, we slip up all the time, but apparently the illusion is set. We're tricking you. So
yeah, we when was that? I think it was Monday. The Anime Degens podcast. I did an episode with them, and that was we were doing a blind ranking type of thing. And that was one of the questions that they asked. We were blind ranking Naruto OPs. And it was I remember all of these. I don't remember none of the names. I think the only name that I remembered was Bluebirds. And I think because it's everywhere. But it's I remember this. I just don't remember the name. And so he would call it out, and I would throw the link in the chat, and I gotta listen. Because Naruto had 30 OPs or something like that.
Yep.
But yeah, that's one thing I definitely appreciate about y'all.
No, absolutely. We try our best. Sometimes we do, even when we're really not hitting the mark, obviously we're parents, if you haven't heard, but with the kids, sometimes we're putting off the podcast, so it comes out every Monday. Here we are, it's Sunday, 10:30. We're on take 4 of doing the intro. I'm about to break. I'm doing the Linkin Park. I'm one step closer to the edge. And, we're just laughing out here. And it's oh my God, we're just starting to sweat. We're holy shit. So we go to record, and it's the guy, he had the beer, and he did this. And I'm I'll even admit it to people. I'm if this is infuriating to you, put it as a game. First one to answer who this character is in our Discord gets nothing, because we have nothing. It's
you get bragging rights.
Exactly, bragging rights and all that stuff. And we're totally too, open with everyone that most of what we're doing on our podcast is not a review. Obviously, it's a review in the context of what we're thinking, but by no means are we trying to do this. We're just hey, if you like this, you're going to like it. If you don't, you know this. Yeah. And then sometimes we'll even pop up an episode today we're going to be talking about this. 2 minutes of talking about it, and the rest we're just talking about something else. And I'm how do people listen to us? But they somehow do, and we've really built a great community, as we've kind of said. And they'll be the first, because I've got an episode discussion in our Discord and stuff. And hey, Tom, so remember when you said this? Absolutely not. And I'm appreciate that. And then we move past it, and everything's great again, so.
That's funny.
Absolutely.
So I guess a couple of fun questions before we dive into our topic for the day. So what's the funniest thing that's happened to you being married to a weeb?
It's the funniest thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know she's going to be he's not funny at all. Nothing has ever happened. Yeah, funny weeb thing. I think that's a great question.
Well, you've
had me in stitches over a couple of things. I'm very much from the hip. Well, Mystery Theater 3000. Is that the name of that show back in the day with the silhouettes watching movies and cracking jokes? I'm very much, I think the podcast gets let down. Most of my heater jokes are happening as we're watching it.
Oh, yeah.
Funniest weeb thing.
I have no idea. And I am the first to admit, even on the podcast, I have a terrible memory. I have to write stuff down about my children so I don't forget.
Absolutely.
I'm only thinking of things that I have not witnessed, but I love when you wear, and you talk about it on the podcast, when you wore the all night shirt in Jewel. And someone's plus ultra, and you were I was not there to witness that.
I wish you were. It was a pretty good moment. Yeah. I think with you, the funniest thing was the modes you'd get into. I would just pop by, like we'd get a spare moment, and I'd like hear, Inuyasha Kikome. I'm like, how many episodes are you watching? Like, I couldn't even believe she was sticking with it. But no, I think because she likes to do sewing and stuff, she's a bit of a seamstress, and every time I'm like, she likes to listen to stuff. Every time I go to check on her, it's Death Note every time.
It is every time.
I'm like, the mystery's gone. The mystery's dead. There's no, but to go into the plus ultra thing would be that I was at Costco one day, and I like me we're all a good community. I like the weebs out there, the otakus, if you will. And I went into Costco with my dad. I'm wearing like this All Might shirt or whatever, and I'm walking past this guy, and he keeps flicking his eyes towards me. I'm like, is something wrong with me? First thing's never going to the shirt. Like, I'll even wear this, and people are like, I love the Arctic Monkeys. I'm like, how did you know? Me too. And then I'll walk away. I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me. So I'm wearing this All Might shirt, and the guy just looks at me, finally decides to break the silence. And he just goes, plus ultra, man. And I was just like, all right. And I just kept walking. It's like, I don't even know what to say to you right now. Say anything like, hey, love the shirt or anything, but just plus ultra'd me. I was dumbfounded. I couldn't even think of a response. It was just like, anyways. He's like, that guy's a jerk. He probably rates our podcast 4.2 or something. Something not nice, But sorry, I don't know if that was actually a good answer.
No, that's good, man. So what inspired you guys to start a podcast about anime?
So we were like thick into watching anime.
Heavy.
We had a certain group of friends at the time, and we would all just, bust each other's balls, watch anime, sometimes together, all of us. And they were like, you should do a podcast. Kept like, you guys should do a podcast.
Well,
and we were like,
who'd want to listen to that shit? You know what I mean?
And then just like everyone, when the pandemic happened, we were like, might as well. We thought,
if not us, who? If not now, when? That's kind of what the situation happened.
And that's what everyone else also thought.
Yeah. And it's gone through its stages, right? So we, as we were talking to our friends, and then sometimes, obviously, because we all have lives, we're, getting into careers and whatnot. And so it's like, did you watch this yet? No, I haven't watched it. I'm like, well, I got to talk to someone about this. I got my best friend here. Why don't we talk about it and then put it on a microphone? So started with the old Blue Yeti, just the classic. Everyone's, down
sharing one microphone.
Yeah. Not all of us can start such a great podcast like the Side Quest Hustle. No big deal. But, we just started kind of down and dirty doing that first one, hitting like sub versus dub, really getting into like what's going to piss some people off. And then we're going to like not talk about it properly. But, which to that point, I got to ask you, is it sub or dub for you?
I am whatever's playing. I don't have a preference. We have some that me, the wife, the kids watch weekly because I roped them all into it. Saturday, Sunday morning, I make breakfast, we watch anime, and I mean, if it's dubbed, we'll watch it dubbed. If it's sub, we'll watch it subbed. I don't take a preference.
Sure, perfect. Yeah, I think dub especially is super clutch in the parenting thing of like, I'm never gonna be able to watch this show. Mm-hmm. How can I play with the newborn while listening to, her spiritual pressure's off the charts. It's like, got it. So at the time, I mean, we were big into sub. Still big into sub, I think. There's something about it. Takes a little bit of that cringe out. I'm sure, like, if we spoke Japanese, I'm sure they're really dramatizing their voice, obviously. Maybe it would hit a little different, but, like, for some reason, unless it's, like, the greats. And I gotta say, even Bleach, great dub. We never did Hunter x Hunter dub, but, this is, like, the gold standard for everything. Yu Yu Hakusho, Justin Cook. We mentioned that dude once an episode at least. The guy's probably like, get over it. Okay. I use But no, and he's just produced so much. But those ones, Brotherhood, obviously Cowboy Bebop being a legendary dub.
Dragon Ball.
Dragon Ball Z. It wasn't until Super did we get into to sub, just because obviously we wanted to keep current with it. But
a lot of the OGs, like that, like early 2000s and before, we can usually do the dub.
Yeah, Trigun. Anything that looked gritty on the screen, we watched it in dub pretty much. But yeah, so first episode was talking about that, and then it was kind of like just a slow progression of, oh my gosh, 10 people listened, including my mom. This is insane right now, you know? So then it evolved into, because we did it in like our loft at the townhouse when we were there, was like so echoey. You know, I'm a video guy, but I don't like specialize in audio treatments and stuff. So like we go into the closet. We have this tiny little closet. We're like, all right, we got the cord going under the door. We're just sitting on the floor in our 30s on the floor. Just, you know, sitting there. It sounded great in that closet though.
Yeah.
And it would just get so hot because we're in there. It's taking forever. And those were back when we'd actually edit the podcast too. It's a little fun fact for ours. You guys are not going to believe it by how just, if you ever listen to one of our episodes, you'd be like, well, of course you don't edit. It's like, but yeah, we don't really edit anymore.
But when we were first starting, obviously not comfortable with the podcasting format and being eloquent. Not saying that we are any more eloquent, but a lot of the ums and pauses and likes and things like that, Tom painstakingly took out of those early podcasts. And then as we got more comfortable, we didn't get more eloquent, but we got rid of the likes and the ums. And
yeah, more comfortable and more, this needs to go up tomorrow. Like, that's our signature. Like, send. So, yeah, and then we knew we were like, we got to get a different setup when we'd had our buddy Joe on as a guest to talk Gundams. 3 people in this tiny closet. It was fun. It was fun. It was also
hot as balls in there.
I think it would give Satan's armpits a run for its money on heat. So it was just like brutal in there. We'd get out, sauna mode. Anyone, if like out of nowhere we opened that door and we were somehow in like a different room and people saw us walk out, they'd be like, ugh, gross, what you doing? Why are you sweating like that? You know, just disgusting. Yeah, so then eventually kind of put a little bit into it, got, a deck, the road pod deck or whatever, and allowed a little bit more flexibility, and we've just kind of been evolving, keeping people up to date. Which we've had a few people listen to us. And I think that's the big thing. I think you're already crushing with the podcast. I love listening already. So big kudos to you. But it's like, as you're growing the community, you're going to have just people who, we still have some that are like, I found you, episode 5, and I've been listening here and there ever since. And, we've been told like, it's fun just seeing, our anime arcs, like, the nerves. And then once those ended, suddenly, okay, this is good. Now they're ramping up. Oh, Tom has lost his mind. This guy's a psycho. Oh, he's reformed. He's calmed down. Now they're both very tired. Like, it's just, there's kind of like this ebb and this flow to it that I truly think is becoming kind of our unintentional journal of our life. It's becoming a journal of our life, kind of. So it's going to be kind of cool.
It's a nice time capsule.
Yeah.
Just to go back and listen. And
yeah. So it's great. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to keep flipping the script, but how are you with the initial podcast nerves? Are those shedding off slowly, quickly? Yeah. How's it been for you?
Yeah, I think for me, it was getting the first one out. Like recording, I probably recorded that thing, man, like 4 or 5 times. And yeah, because it was just like, I think the first time I did it, I forgot to record. And so, yeah, it was like the first 15 minutes and I was like, I'm not recording. You know what? I'm going to try again tomorrow. Yeah. And then, what was it? The lights that I have up, I couldn't find the plugs for them. Like I shifted from our downstairs space up to like this office space. We went through a whole thing where like we just moved everything around. And it was just kind of on a whim. Like my wife wanted to move her desk down to our room and kind of use that as a space, which she still uses my desk. So, I mean, it depends on how she feels. Sure. And somewhere in all of that, I could not find the power cords for the lights. And so, yeah, I spent like 2 or 3 days trying to find the power cords. and so without the lights, you can't see me. Like, even with just the room light or whatever, it's like, you can't see me. and so I had to find the lights, and that took like 2 days. And then once I got that up, it was like finding the time. My wife travels for work. And so I think she was gone for like a week. And so that pushed it back. And it was like, I was watching Kaiju number 8 and like Kafka being 30s and just like going for it. And that kind of inspired me. I was like, you know what? I just need to do it. And so that first episode on like the 4th or 5th time, I just went in, I recorded it, I edited it a little bit, and then I put it out. And, you know, just from there, it became easy. Some of the people that I had been messaging back and forth came on. The guys from Blurred Minds Productions, they have a comic called Wake the Dead, and they came on and we talked about all of their projects. I didn't know they had like 4 projects in the work. And then just episode about Tower of God, I picked up during the pandemic. I picked it up before the anime was announced, like that season 1, and I was reading just to pass the time. And like right after I picked it up, they announced the anime. And so I've been reading Tower of God ever since. I think it's like 600 or so chapters in, and it's amazing. And so I've been going ever since then, and that brought me up to now. And I think I'm a little more comfortable with everything, finding what works, finding a setup that works, finding a software that works. Like I was using Riverside at first and just going through the tech issues, and somebody else was like, yeah, man, you're just gonna have to get used to the tech issues. And I was like, there has to be an easier way to do this. And so I switched softwares, and that's worked out perfectly. I haven't had an issue with the software that I use now, and meeting people and being able to collaborate with people, because one of the things for me was finding a community of people who like the stuff that I like, that I could talk to about it, like anytime. And so between, you know, listening to you guys, listening to Anime Degens and a couple of other podcasts that I discovered, and the Discords and everything, you know, there's always somebody to talk about or bounce something off of or get their theories or, you know, their takes on everything. And so it's been pretty cool. Like, it's been a cool journey. It's only been 2 months, but I mean, it's been great.
Yeah. I mean, talk about hitting the ground running. I think you've done great. We're not good at getting guests. So when you reached out, I was like, heck yeah. Awesome. We've had, actually, it's been since the closet. We don't really have guests much.
We've had a few here.
Oh, that's right.
It's usually friends.
Yeah.
You know, and we'll either watch a show or talk about a show. Mm-hmm. Definitely missed an opportunity. We were living in this house, because I remember it doesn't feel like it because of how much we ramped with doing the 2 episodes, but we were coming up to episode 69, and we're like, we have to do, or it wouldn't be me, but I was like, and the boys have to do a Kaijo episode. Yeah. That would have been hilarious, but unfortunately
which, anyone not in the know, pretty degen show. It's become a bit of a meme around here. There was one day we were just like, what on earth is Hip Whip Girl? It's gone around the anime community as kind of like okay, this is what's wrong with anime, you know, fan service for the sake of fan service. It is the most ridiculous show ever, where the sport is that you must use your breasts or your buttocks to get the opponent off of a buoy and into the water. I couldn't even imagine being in the room pitching that show, but it is Japan, so you know how it goes. So it turned into such a meme that we were doing a Gundam build day one day, and we're like laughing, like, this show is ridiculous. Ha! We're just building. By episode 3, we're all quiet. We're like, so she's in her training arc, and then we're like oddly taking it serious, and it's like, what's going on with us right now? You know, she gets kind of this suit in it that's classic shonen that's like, this is tensing your muscles and you need to work against it. It's like, heck yeah, it's like a shonen, and it's just like
Goku's armbands.
It's the weirdest thing. They do some great references.
I've watched,
and it's a shame. No, I don't think you'll like it, but there's a move at the end. This girl comes down. Spoilers. This girl comes down and just slams her butt into someone, and it's butt tack on Titan. And it's like it cuts to this huge graphic. It's the stupidest show ever, but my buddy may or may not have bought it for me on Blu-ray, and I own it and I cherish it. So, you know, aside from that, yeah. But as you were saying, we were gonna like, for episode 69, it's already, you know, we should have a bunch of the boys on to talk about it, and then it just never happened, and now we're at 200 something, and it's still not happening. So.
Yeah,
Actually, you know.
Yeah. I mean, you guys have 269 coming up. So, I mean, there's still 69 in there.
You heard it. Log it.
Cool. So, I guess with that, we can get into the topic at hand. So, you guys are currently in your first watch of Bleach, which is interesting. Bleach is considered one of the big 3, the other 2 being One Piece and Naruto. And this group of anime kind of became popular in 2004, that mid-2000s range. Dragon Ball Z had just ended its American run, and there was sort of a gap there. And Bleach, One Piece, Naruto, they filled that gap perfectly for everybody, so much so that they became known as the big 3 and have stood the test of time. You know, most people, when they give their top 5, if not all of them, there's at least one of them in there, and generally one of them is rated at that top spot. You know, for me, my favorite is One Piece, and a lot of other people's as well. My first question, you know, for you guys, how did you make it this far without watching Bleach?
It's easier for you to answer. I'm really like, oh yeah, what the hell?
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely before kids, we were able to do the, Inuyasha's, we've looked, I can't remember, hundreds of episodes.
Yeah. I think Hunter x Hunter's what, $140, something like that?
Yeah. You know, Yu Yu Hakusho is at 30, I can't remember, and then Brotherhood is only 60 something. So you know, doing the longer format shows was easy for us before kids. I don't know why we never really watched it. I like, personally, I think being the newer weeb, One Piece does not appeal to me at all. Sorry. We have, though, I'm going to amend that really quick. We have started watching it at one point, and I was like, so right in the beginning, that cat guy with the long nails, when he kept doing this, I was like, what's up with this doucher over here doing this fancy glasses thing? And then it's revealed, spoiler, that he's got that like long nailed glove hand. I was like,
well, then she goes, actually, it's incredible. The show's awesome. I'm like, yeah.
So it was good when we were watching it. And then unfortunately, I don't know what happened. We just kind of put it off.
The podcast happened. I think, you know, we love what the podcast does for us because it gives us that motivation to watch, even when we clearly don't have time. But it does add a weird pressure into anime that's not ruined it, but has really affected what we choose to watch, because we do every Monday, and at one point we were doing 2 days a week, as we had mentioned. It wasn't even like what should we watch? It's like that one, go, and we're just picking shows, you know, doing our thing, but it's led us to things that we might not have normally watched. I didn't really like the appeal of 86's mech looking spider things. But after hearing like, you should give it a go, I'm like, yeah, 86, one of the best actually it's been one of my favorites as far as like the unexpected one of like that one hit way better than I thought it would. And then I think we went not long after that right into Violet Evergarden.
I think we had one in between because our people in our Discord was like, do not do 86 and then Violet Evergarden.
Brutal back to back.
But so I think, you know, because those three have so many episodes, I think it would just be because we have to watch for the podcast to discuss. It would be so hard, especially now with the limited time. Before kids, we could do a longer format show and then do like on the side 12 or, you know, however many episodes, 24, and have those to talk about while we catch up on the longer ones. But now it's kind of like we have to, which we're doing right now, like we'll do instead of obviously which would be insanity, but like Bleach as an that's clock just scared me. We have a cuckoo clock in the basement. I was like,
not like a traditional cuckoo clock. It's a Nightmare Before Christmas one. It's pretty badass. I didn't want them thinking we're some lame-os.
But doing the Watch There's a Beach arc of Bleach and kind of talking about that. So at least you're only having to watch, let's see, well, still a lot for each arc, but
yeah. Sorry that everyone's going to comment on your paper. Like, can they just answer the damn question by there and the bald guy? Great answer. Nice.
It was okay.
You got out. It was fine. For me, it was honestly 04 was a weird time of grew up and this was like, yeah, Yu, Dragon Ball Z, Toonami, watching those, you know, even, you remember? No. I was just going to ask you, like, you watched Toonami, like, you know, weird one-off shows like Zatch Bell and Toonami just pumping things out. And I remember I'd see certain things where it was like, okay, Dragon Ball's main focus, good. Okay, this main focus, that's fine. Once those started to hit, it was actually my, like, Halo 2 emergence days and where I was, like, super getting into gaming, you know, like, traveling, going to, like, MLG events. Those were so weird. So like watching that took a turn because it was like get home, get on Halo for 8 hours, go to bed at like 3 a.m, wake up at 6 a.m, repeat until you want to die. And so it really, took out that whole section. I think even around the same time, and this could be completely wrong, gaslighting, but that's exactly the time too when people are like, oh, have you ever played like Pokemon Ruby or Sapphire? I'm like, no. They're like, it's great. I'm like, never played it because it was in that zone of just Halo was life, you know. And hindsight, not worth it. Halo sucks. So, you know, it's one of those things. Really put my eggs in the wrong basket there. But at the same time, is the little time machine. If I did one thing different, wouldn't be married to this one. So Halo 2's fine by me, I guess.
Before we die, we will have watched all three. It was definitely, I think when we were choosing, which of the three to watch, we'd already dabbled a little bit in One Piece. And when we really were like, should we do Naruto? Because we've seen some sick clips on the internet floating around of Naruto. And I was like, we got to, which we had watched a couple episodes in the beginning. But I was like, let's do Bleach. So it was kind of like a coin flip of what we were going to do. And it's always like, we each have to pressure each other, like, to make a decision. Sometimes it's like the restaurant thing that your girlfriend or wife never wants to say where she wants to eat. And it's like the biggest thing with us on like what we're going to watch next, Well,
and that's what's perfect too. Cause I'm like, hey, we're going to start Naruto. And I'm like, then just tell me Bleach. So we ended up on Bleach. Naruto, I had at least, watched a couple episodes back in the day. I know all the songs from it because they were all, as we were talking about, they're all pretty badass. And then I know, I was like, believe it. And I'm like, okay, cool, Naruto. Bleach, I had zero context at all. And then just when it came to Thousand Year Blood War is crushing it right now. I'm like,
that was actually, I think, the deciding.
That's why we got into Bleach. Because we're just trying to speed run straight to it. which big shout out. This message sponsored by the Recount arc because we skipped it.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. No. Yeah. I think for me, I had kind of taken a break from anime because like I got into high school, and I think it was actually like when I started working in high school. So I didn't really have time to watch it. And then when I got to college, I had all this free time. And that's when I watched Bleach all the way through where the original anime ended. And, it was like, this can't be where it ends. Like, there has to be more. And that's what got me into manga. I ended up discovering like the Bleach manga, and it kind of snowballed from there. It was like, it went from like the Bleach manga to One Piece, Naruto, some manhwas and different things. And now that it's all coming back, and like even One Piece, they're getting their Netflix adaptation with Studio. And so, I mean, that may be you guys, entry into One Piece with the Wit Studio. They're going to fix the pacing and everything. And so, never know.
We're always waiting for, Bleach Kai, Naruto Kai, all of the redos, because heaven knows they might happen. Admittedly, so you said One Piece is your favorite?
Yep.
I did get into, so we started a bit, but I had actually watched a bigger chunk when I was working downtown in the Loop. I would take the Metro, ended up with one of my college buddies ended up getting a job downtown too. So it's like, I'd sit next to him and normally just, But one day I'm finally like, dude, I don't know. I've never seen One Piece. Give me that earbud. And it was like the Judge Island or something. They were going to get Robin. Was she taken to an island? And then
in his lobby.
That's the one. So after like 5 episodes, I'm like, this show's pretty badass. And then suddenly I was like, I was a One Piecer, and then just eventually I said later to the city. And then I was the most sad part was literally leaving One Piece behind on the train, because I knew it'd be a while before I start watching it again.
Oh man. Annie's Lobby is probably like man, I feel like Annie's Lobby is probably my favorite arc of One Piece. And I know a lot of people, it's where it hooks them. I mean, you just gotta experience it. You gotta experience it.
How far in is that roughly? Do you know?
Annie's Lobby is probably, it's probably 200 or so episodes in, maybe.
It's like drinking coffee. You're like, you gotta drink it for a bit, then you're gonna love it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Let me see here. Annie's Lobby. 264.
264. That's nothing. That's nothing with the 2 kids. We can get that done by 20.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the one thing I always tell people with One Piece is like, once you start it, it's hard to stop. It's one of those, it's like, it just snowballs. You're like, this is goofy, or this is silly. But then 2 episodes later, you're just like, okay. Okay. Yeah, it's one of those. So with Bleach, you guys have made it through the Soul Society, the retrieval arc, where they go and they rescue Rukia. Is there anything that surprised you about this first major arc of Bleach?
I would say probably, and not that it was a problem with the arc. I thought the Soul Society and them getting in, infiltrating, and getting our classic stuff. And a big thing too, which I know, obviously there's going to be pacing issues with the old Shonen because it was a different time when they're producing the shows to get put on TV. All it does now is binge mode. When you get like, all right, minute and a half intro, minute this, you get it, and then you're shrinking that episode to 15 minutes so you can churn and burn, which is the best feeling ever. But obviously with that, I don't know, just based on imagery, I'm like, yeah, Rukia is like a straight badass. Like she's, nothing can stop her, gives her power up, and then she's locked in a tower. And I'm like, that's not at all what I thought was going to happen with Rukia. I didn't think she was the damsel in distress kind of gal. So I think that was kind of my biggest, like, oh, interesting. Because you see, obviously, a lot of the art. Like, you see a lot of, goes to show how much I don't remember anything. The little lion
Cone.
Mm-hmm. I'm like, this guy's going to be everywhere. And it's like, not really. He is sometimes, which is great. But
I love the new intro with Cone.
Oh, when he's singing, so great, dude. It's awesome. But yeah, that was what surprised me. I don't know if you have a different.
I think because I would say, I'm trying to think of like old IP.
Don't look at the best show.
Because I'm not used to older shows with so many episodes. I think the breadth of how long it took them to save Rukia, I was exhausted by the end. I was like, can we save this lady and like get the hell out of here? Because like, it like brought me back to watching Dragon Ball Z, where you're watching Goku power up for 5 episodes, and it's like, we need to like, I need to get to this climax because it's a lot of energy to keep up with everything, and everyone's circle jerking at this point. It's like,
especially when, some shows in the past, it's like you get all this build up, and they're like, this is going to crush it. And then just like blue balls, and you're like, oh, yeah, well, I hate this, and I can't believe I invested the time in it, but.
Well, and I think something once the Shinigami and when they're at the Soul Society arc is over, I'm like, okay, like these Soul Reapers are the best, most powerful. Ichigo's here. We're awesome. Like he's just gonna slay. And then you get to the Arrancar, and it's like, wait, it's that. I told Tom, like, I feel like the Soul Society part should have been, I mean, it doesn't make sense too, but I feel like it should have been later for how much they made these people out to be so strong. And that cat person who can shapeshift. I'm having a brain fart. But
Yoruichi.
Yeah. Great name to say.
And she is bae. Yeah, she's my favorite in the show thus far. So,
but how Yoruichi's like, you got to get your Bankai in 3 days, and Ichigo pulls it off in 1.5 or 2 days, and they're just setting it up that this is like the biggest, baddest threat, and then it's over, and then you got the Arrancars, and it's kind of like, it's not devastating, but it's kind of like, oh my gosh, like, so who's Rukia's brother? And I just looked at the list right now. Whatever. He's like the biggest, baddest person of all of the Soul Reapers. And it's like, well, how would he be again? And then like my mind is spinning at this point. I'm like, well, I want him to defeat all these Arrancars if he's the best.
It's all about timing. I think if we weren't really like pressed to get like episodes here, episodes there, and we were binging it, whole different ball game. Because think about it. And yeah, I'm obsessed with it. I'm going to keep bringing it up. It's like Toguro. You go through the Dark Tournament, you're like, that guy was insane. They're like, yeah, B- for him. There's S's out there, and you're like, are you kidding me? And it's just,
I guess that's
old
true.
Volcano shoulders. Very uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable.
I think for me, one of the things that surprised me, I think that were different, is I know in a lot of shonen, when they get to those, it's a war, it's a rescue, it's a whatever, the good guys are winning. But I think all of Ichigo's companions, except Iria, I think they all lost. They all lost. Renji lost. Shad lost.
What a guy.
Orihime lost. Like, they all lost their fights, and it's like, can they really do this? I was thinking that at one point, and then Ganjo, he got pretty much slaughtered by what's his name? Rukia's brother. And I mean, at that point, when Yoruichi saved Ichigo, she was like, no, you're not ready for this. Like, he would have slaughtered you.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, what can they do? It wasn't like a natural progression of like, yeah, they're gonna fight, they're gonna get stronger, they're gonna keep doing this, and they were losing. And so I think that was like the biggest surprise for me.
I can agree with that completely. Yeah, I think typical shonen, it's like you're gonna take at least some wins, but yeah, it was definitely an uphill battle, especially with. If I week to week this when I was a kid, I would have lost my mind, which that's coming from, I mean, I can't complain obviously with Dragon Ball, but like, it is funny that it did always kind of boil down to, and I think Ichigo is a good shonen main character because obviously you're prone to like the ditziness, the comedy. He's funny in some moments, but he's not a funny guy. He's just kind of like, he's got his morals, his values, and he's just chunking through. He gets this power and he's like, I'm a responsible young lad, let's do this. So he's kind of going through with that. I do love when a shonen just suddenly goes, I need 4 days, you've got 2. I don't know, send someone else in, do something, get them the time. But if that's not life, you gotta deal
especially with Bankai. Because like with Bankai, it was like, it takes 100 years to master it and all of this, and he does it in like 2 days.
Which actually, great segue into a question for you, because I think we both kind of maybe have the same opinion on this. Thoughts on Ichigo's Bankai reveal? Was it a little underwhelming for you, or you were like, hell yeah, where did that hit you?
I didn't know how to feel about him putting on like a tuxedo, and I was a little underwhelmed with it, but then once he started fighting, it kind of tied it up to me because at that point we had seen Kaname's Bankai with the one that took all of your sensory away, and I was like, that's cool. We saw the Fox guy's Bankai with this big giant samurai. Who else is? We had saw Hitsugaya's the ice dragon.
Yeah.
We saw Mayori's with his big weird baby poison thingy.
Oh yeah, that's right. The perfect Bankai for him.
And so it was like, okay, I wasn't. And I mean, even Renji's with the giant bamboo snake thing, and Byakuya, that's his name. Byakuya.
That's right.
Yeah, with the big pink 1,000 blades that cut everything. And so the fact that he has kind of just turned his sword little and put a tuxedo on him. It was underwhelming. It was underwhelming.
Definitely very lackluster, especially as you're saying, given the context of like, there's no limits to this. It can be whatever. Look at how incredible this is.
Yeah. Then
he turns into, I dare say, Sonic the Hedgehog. Gotta go fast. And I'm like, Sonic, son of a bitch. I thought I wasn't watching you right now. And then, he's just ripping around. Still very cool.
I wonder if, not to get like philosophical or whatever, I'm just riffing, but
let's get it.
But like, I wonder if it's a testament to Ichigo's personality that he doesn't need all this fancy fanfare. He's just in it, get it done, over, not like everyone else kind of showboating and stuff like that. And he's like, I'm strong, I'm going to cut you down and we're moving on because, whatever. But
maybe.
I don't know the mind of who created Ichigo in the story, but I wonder if that's why his Bankai is very minimal.
It could be. Who knows?
Yeah, and I was thinking it was just a theory that I had whenever I first saw it, because his first real fight that he lost against Byakuya, it was speed. Like, he couldn't see him. And then against Kenpachi, it was the same. Like, he couldn't keep up. And so I was always thinking like, oh, I wonder if the Bankai that he developed was all based on he's like, I have the skill and everything. I can't keep up with them. Well, if I can do this and keep up with them, then I can win.
Sure. Yeah. No, I think that makes sense. It suits him. He looks like Neo from the Matrix. He's got his cool thing. And I think that's where Bleach itself, I think, holds up stellar as long as you're binging it.
Yeah.
Obviously, the pacing doesn't hold up. But as a show, I think the humor still, as it should, action's pretty cool. I think the power dynamics are there. The creativity in the Bankai is cool. And just when you think, kind of, as we were talking, it's like Bankai's great. And it's like, now there's more forms. And you're like, of course. Of course there's more forms. So it gives you that nice, breadcrumb. Let's start moving towards that way. And it's kept us involved. Biggest complaint thus far would probably be the writing. And again, this goes back to when this show was getting put over here, we didn't have as good of translations, I'm sure, and they were working on tight deadlines. I'm sure there's a whole laundry list of potential reasons that, like, the dialogue itself isn't phenomenal. But man, when they find a word in this show, they find the shit out of it. They find it so much they lose it again to find it again. That Soul Society, spiritual pressure is said 4 times an episode at least, with gusto. And it's like, you had me for the first 2, with the 4th, I'm like, just say this guy's strong or something, And then now that we're in the Arrancar arc,
I had heard Arrancar so much that Faye and I were playing with her Sonic toys, and she has Knuckles. And she was like, Mommy, what's Knuckles? And I'm like, an Arrancar? So he's an echidna. Yeah, I could not remember. I'm like, no,
he's an Arrancar. He's missing the hole in it. The necklace has the hole in the chest.
Exactly. So,
oh man. So, who were your favorite characters through this stage of the anime?
Even though she's not around right now, Yoruichi.
Yoruichi
is like, just it.
I love and I gotta look because Urahara is. I like the mystery of him. I think his sword's name is Chef's Kiss. Yeah, Benihime. I'm like, I only have seen it once, and I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I think all of the characters actually have something that you can enjoy. I could just go down like the whole list, but I really loved the dynamic of Kenpachi, how he doesn't really use his Zanpakuto as he needs to as a captain. He just has brute strength and he's just bulldozing through. And I love that Ichigo defeats him and then now he's just all of a sudden nice. It's just kind of cute.
Well, best friend. Yeah. I think Jujutsu Kaisen kind of took from that. I lucked out because when I first saw the show, and I forget what her name is, I'm going to butcher it, even though she's supposedly my favorite. But the girl who, Soifan. I remember just seeing visuals of her. I'm like, I think that's going to be waifu of the show. Let's hope. Then Yoruichi comes in. I'm like, never mind. That's her right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, she talks like a dude when she's a cat. It doesn't matter because she's dope. And then suddenly there's a fight between the two. I'm like, this is my episode. This is the best episode so far.
Yeah.
I know, as you said, I think the dynamics are great. A huge one too is the bro code. The couple episodes we got describing why Chad came along on the journey and is fighting so hard, going to those flashbacks of when Ichigo and him are like, hey, I'll fight for you if you fight for me. And it's just like let's face it, we all know why that hits. We're all like, I want a friend like that. I want someone to beat the shit out of someone for me.
I'll stand in my corner,
Yeah.
And like, even if you don't know the full reason and like can't relate, like, because we're friends, like I have you. Like I loved that story. I'm so glad you brought that up.
That's what I'm here to bring up. You know, I mentally thought before this, I'm going to bring that up. And here it is, hitting, you know, an hour in or something. But is there, and it can be in like a non-spoilery way. Obviously, we're talking kind of up into that Arrancar arc, but what would you say is your favorite portion, not including 1,000 Year Blood War? Like, what was your favorite arc of this original part?
I think it was the retrieval arc, because I mean, you hear them talk about the Soul Society, you hear Rukia mention it, and then I mean, you're thinking, because Ichigo got his powers from Rukia, and up to this point, Ichigo is like the strongest. He's cool. He's everything. And kind of like what you said, you think he got this from Rukia. She has to be like top notch, you know, running things over there. You know, everybody respects her, only to find out that like her brother comes and she like freezes. Like there's nothing. And then to find out that there are all these other people in the Soul Society who are just as strong as him and much stronger than her. That reveal, and then the character designs and everything, because you get to see all of the different captains and vice captains, and you get to see their Shikai and their Bankai. You get to see their characters develop through this. I think what the Soul Society arc ends up being like, I think if you take it from start to, it's like 40 episodes, but in that 40-ish or so episodes, you get to see the character development of Ichigo. You get to see the character development of Kenpachi. You get to see the turn of Kaname, the blind one, and Aizen, who everybody thought was dead. And you get to see the mystery that's taken place in the background that Shusui and Hitsugaya are trying to solve. You get to see Byakuga's character development and growing to respect Renji and growing to respect Ichigo. And so I think, that part of it, once they finally make it into the Soul Society, that 20-ish, 30-ish episodes or so were probably my favorite.
Sure. Yeah, I can definitely see it. And especially because obviously back in the day with these shows, it was like, baddie of the week, right? Mm-hmm. But in a lot of the shows from around then, it was baddie of the week, defeat them, move on. Mm-hmm. This was baddie of the week, just who's the new cast member of the week. It was just kind of like, you know, bringing in new stuff. And I think in that 40 episodes, I can agree. And I think I've heard actually a couple people say that was their favorite. Mm-hmm. Not one has said the Bount arc. Obviously, we keep editing that. It's just like, it's so funny how new you can be into watching Bleach and understand just how shitty that is. That, you know, we looked up a list of like how to expedite Bleach, because we want to be purists, obviously, but we also don't care enough. So it was one of those things where we had this list of skip this episode to this episode, you know, do this to this. And when I saw the chunk of, 64 to 109 or something, I'm like, that's 40 episodes. There's no way. So I went to my buddy, because a couple of my buddies I hang out with, they love it. They're watching 1,000 Year Blood War and all that. I'm like, this can't be right? They're like, well, what episode's about? I'm like, oh, this to this. They go, Bount arc. Yeah, don't watch that. It's awful. I'm like, oh, okay. So that took quarter of a second. They were like, it was right here, ready to go. So I trusted it. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to bother. And it is incredible that the jump from 63 to 92, we didn't miss anything except for 3 random characters, the little puppet trio. Mm-hmm. Other than that, not one thing mattered. It was actually kind of Groundhog Day, because when the Soul Society finishes and it's Rukia's down for the count, everyone's kind of getting repaired, and Rukia going, I haven't seen you in a while. Then we jump to the beginning of the Arrancar arc. They're all beat up from the Bount fight, and then it's, oh, I haven't seen you in a while. What are you doing here? And I'm like, we just watched this. What's going on? So it's pretty seamless to at least skip those. And I'm sure there's someone out there going, it's not that bad. You should watch it. And to them,
it was that bad.
No thanks. You know?
Yeah. It was that bad. I mean, and I think it's kind of like what you were saying, the timeline of everything, because I think when the Bleach anime premiered, it quickly caught up to the manga.
That's right.
Because I think at that time it wasn't seasonal. Like, it was an episode airing every single week. Mm-hmm. And it quickly caught up to the manga. And so they had to do something to create separation. And I know, like, with some of the others, like with One Piece, that's why you would get like a half a chapter would be an episode. There would be an episode of just Luffy running around. And they would do things like that to try to create some separation. And Bleach, they had 40 episode worthless filler. And, like, don't get me wrong, there are some great filler in Bleach. One of the later filler arcs is probably one of my favorite, and I mean, it's one of those that when you get to it, the character designs and everything, it is one of my favorite. But then they have like the Bound arc, and it's like 40 skippable episodes. Like, I mean, that's what, if you look at that, that's a year of skippable content.
Yeah. And honestly, it could even perhaps be studied as a new form of torture, theoretically. It might have its uses. We haven't actually used it yet, probably.
Nobody's found it yet.
Ends all the world's wars.
And so you guys have started the Arrancar arc. What do you think of the beginning of that arc?
I'm certainly invested.
And like, not, this is spoiling it a little bit for me. I'm actually slightly devastated. Because we have the arc names on the thing, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they're still talking about Arrancars 260 episodes into the show. I'm like slightly devastated that it's going to take that long.
Well, I mean, they haven't set them up as like, they're that real mean guy Aizen's fellows.
I know. So. I just can't believe it's going to be like Inuyasha when you have Naraku. He's just the baddie throughout the whole show, and now realizing that this is going to be my life.
I'll tell you what, Naraku is a nuisance. He's certainly a problem.
And I think with Bleach, there's some more filler in there that can be skipped. Because like, if you're looking at the episode listing or the arc listing, there's one, I think they like go back into the past, and I think it's listed here in their wiki as the new captain Shusuke. I might skip it. Just skip it.
Good.
Yeah, skip it.
The past, we skip that. We go into we don't look back. We go in the future.
No, don't skip that. That's actually pretty good. I mean, it ties things together.
Okay.
Yeah, so don't skip that one. Let's see, the Zanbakuto arc. Watch that. That's probably one of my favorite arcs in Bleach, even though it's filler.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So we have someone in our Discord that's a personal friend gave us skippable episodes, and I just go off that.
Yeah.
So I'll have to cross-reference that and make my own list, and kind of, now that you have recommended things, I take it out of what we would skip.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because there are some like random one-off, two-offs that are like, they play baseball or they go to the beach, and you know, those type of filler episodes that can definitely be skipped. And yeah, but there's some decent filler in there, or they have one decent filler arc. Because I wouldn't say the past arc is a filler arc. I think it's a part of the story.
Crucial. Gotcha.
But yeah, the Zanbakuto arc is definitely worth watching.
All right.
But going back to the question you asked, I think going into the Arrancar arc portion now it's not necessarily directly dealing with the Arrancars, but I love because they tease it all throughout the Shinigami arc, or I'm sorry, the Soul Society arc, that, something's up with Ichigo. He's got this mask situation, and now we're watching how he's training. I don't remember what those people's names are called because they're not Arrancar. They're the other weird set. The visor. Yeah.
That's right.
So that's very cool. I'm like seeing Ichigo unlocking this new potential and taming the beast inside is very cool.
Which I was certainly thinking the introduction to that's been cool, but I was very much over Ichigo with his like emo phase. This thing, it's scaring me. It's like, Doug, we gotta move on. And luckily he finally did when they were like, we're gonna beat your ass until you get this situated. And then he did pretty quick. So it's funny because as shonen, I'd always think like, oh, this will take X. Ichigo's been kind of flipping it on his head. He does handle certain things in such a quick form that I'm like, oh, that's new. That's nice. But yeah, thus far, it's been pretty interesting. It's adding some cool dynamics to it. Obviously, we always want to see an elevation in the power system. The Arrancar kind of taking the Zanpakuto and then taking it into, when they release that, then they go into their true form. It's like, okay, that's pretty cool. It's giving kind of a new meaning to the Zanpakuto for them. And right now, the biggest question is like, Uryu, it's like, what's going on with him? We knew, and we're this far in and I haven't noticed it, mentioned it. Spoiler queen. This chick is insane. She's like, well, I accidentally saw. I'm like, when you say accidentally, you mean you clicked show spoiler on Mal? And she goes, maybe. I'm like, that's a clickable. You did that to yourself. So we did have a moment actually when we were talking about something in the show where it's on like this cliffhanger. I'm like, oh my gosh, and they're talking about, his bloodline, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Well, they're talking about
the fact that his dad, and my mind snaps. His dad has something to do with the Soul Society. She goes, I know a spoiler, and it's actually, and she spoils something. I'm like, whoa, I was right. She goes, no, you knew because you were saying. I'm like, all right. So that's actually the biggest contention when we are watching anime is sometimes I just got to sit there when I'm watching something and I'm shocked. I just got to sit there going, she's not shocked right now. She probably knows that.
I've gotten a lot better.
I sure hope so.
No, and because I think the way that spoilers were introduced to me was it when we watched Game of Thrones. I feel like I knew so many spoilers from Game of Thrones because we watched it in arrears. Yeah. I was telling you, I have zero patience.
I may know what's going to happen here. I'm like, we literally watched 4 episodes last night. We're going to watch 4 today. We're just not even going to wait. Why are you reading? What is it going on?
I just can't wait.
You got a problem.
I've gotten a lot better though with my looking up spoilers.
I trust you, but same time.
I mean, admittedly, I did, like, when we had first started Bleach, I saw that spoiler, so I'm like, I'm just waiting to see when I, like, see the, what I know is going to happen come to fruition. And it's probably going to be in 1,000 Year Plus.
I hope you never do. I hope actually what you read was a fanfic. And then you're just like,
some fan fiction. Something from one of the movies.
Yeah, exactly. So,
speaking of the movies, I was gonna say, speaking of the movies, Bleach movies are actually pretty good. I'm not sure if you've had a chance to check out any, but they have some pretty solid movies.
I'd have to check it out too, because then this is back in the day when it's like you just had to, like, sometimes it would be interjected between certain episodes, sometimes it wouldn't. It's like, do they go kind of along where should we maybe be cognizant of that and know when to insert these movies, you think?
Yeah, definitely, because they follow along with the storyline. So, like, what's relevant in the story. So, like, I think there's one that came out right after Ichigo got his Bankai.
Yeah.
And so that's a big thing in like that movie because he has his Bankai. I think there's a couple that came out during the Arrancar arc, and they kind of tie into things that happen, like him training with the Visors. And so there's one there. There's one where kind of spoiler. There's one where like everybody forgets who Ichigo is.
Oh.
And so he has to go through and like, no, y'all know me, now let me save y'all. Because like everybody's like, who is this what is it? Who is this Ryoka? How did he get here? Like, what is he doing here? Why does he have a Bankai? And so he has to go through and convince them that he is a good guy and he is trying to help them, and like they slowly regain their memories of him.
Like a rascal does not dream of bunny girls. Senpai situation.
Yeah.
Or in
So,
Adam's
their movies are
51st Dates. Right? Is that an Adam Sandler movie?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyways.
Andrew Bear.
yeah.
Sorry, stupid side tangent. What were you going to say?
No, that's cool. So far, who has been your favorite Arrancar introduced so far?
Oh. It's a great question. I really liked, and I don't know, I can't actually, now I'm blanking on if they're still around or not. Old Volcano Fists or whatever, who was fighting the bald guy in the sky.
Oh, he's Dunzo. I'm pretty
Is he
sure.
Dunzo?
Ikaku decimated him.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You never know.
Kaku showed he had a Bankai.
That's right. Yep. So kind of was like a nice fight between a bald guy and an Arrancar. So I definitely like that one. But other than that, obviously I'm liking the one dude who took out his eyeball.
I was just gonna say I think he's
So I can tell he's gonna be
probably
a
my
problem.
favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Cypher.
Yeah.
Yeah, he seems pretty cool. We haven't seen too many of like the uppers. We just saw that one guy who's got the jaw.
Yeah.
Grimjaw.
Got blue hair, yeah.
Mhm.
He got his arm ripped off.
He won't do that again. You know what I mean? It's just like it's just.
I love ripped off and then set on fire, so he can't get it reattached. I'm like, that's metal.
Yeah.
We got a tight ship on the old Eisen Express, so it.
We've had quite a few episodes now where it's the like rogue Arrancar where he's like beastly and we're following the two kids, the brother and sister.
Yui, and then I don't know.
Sato
Yeah.
or something. Shota. So we've been dedicating a lot of time to that and I'm kind of over it. So I'm looking forward to like when we're past that because we haven't seen any of the main who we actually should be paying attention to.
I did go on her laptop and I did see in the Google history what happens to Yui and Shota. And I'm like, come on, Danielle. But yeah. So do you, and obviously hindsight's 2020, which Arrancar should we be looking out for? Which one is a badass one?
Definitely Grimjaw. I mean, you could tell from his introduction that like he was a badass, that he is gonna be a big deal. Even with his arm cut off and burned, that he's gonna be a big deal.
Yeah.
And so definitely watch out for him. But I would say not to and try not to spoil it. It's how could I best say this? The cast of Arrancar that are introduced are very interesting. Like Kubo does a very good job with his character designs and making them unique, and it's one of my favorite parts of the story. And he does it with the Arrancar. I mean, just like he did in the Soul Society with the captains, really more so the captains, and I mean the vice captains too, but the Arrancar, he goes into this, he really gets into his bag when designing them and their characters and their powers and making them unique. So definitely, I'd say just watch out for all of them, all of the characters. They're all unique. They're all interesting.
So essentially, Tite Kubo is one of the best dungeon masters ever. If he was playing Dungeons and Dragons, this guy would just have the best cast around. But he's just got a show now, so that's good for us. Because I don't want Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. And if you guys ever have a day where you just kind of like got like 2 hours to kind of do something, he has a spinoff of Bleach, Burn the Witch. Yeah, it's a spinoff for Bleach, same universe. You can watch it, and it's spoiler free. There are 4 episodes. They're sub-dubbed. It is pretty good. It was supposed to be a spinoff, a new series that came out back in like 2020, maybe 2018. And it's pretty good. It's a very interesting story with a very interesting premise. So if you like Bleach so far and you have like an afternoon where you guys want to kind of kick back, maybe have a date night, put the kids to bed, spend 2 hours, Burn the Witch is a good watch.
Okay.
We've heard that from...
Admittedly, we've heard that, and I think we started it, got 10 minutes in, and never looked back. I don't think for any judgment, just more so like there's been so many weird shows where it's like, let's start that. Life happens, we have to turn it off, and then it's just we never go back.
Yeah.
But now we will.
Yeah.
This one's worth a watch. Burn the Witch is... I'm hoping that after 1,000 Year Blood War arc finishes, that he continues it, because it was a very interesting premise. It takes place in what's considered like Soul Society West, I think, or East, but it's basically London, a Soul Society version of London. And instead of hunting hollows, they hunt fairy tales, or these fairy tales are dragons. And so it's a unique take on it. There's a lot of the same elements that Bleach has, but with a unique take on the classic fairy tale. So Snow White, Hansel and Gretel, those type of stories.
Cool. It's Bleach, ain't it? Yeah. Okay. Sweet. Yeah. I'm going.
So I think I would have to ask, out of some of the other shonen that you guys have watched, how would you say Bleach compares so far?
That's a good question. I think I like the aesthetic of everything. I like the character building, as we've talked about. The other shonens that we've obviously touched on, Full Metal, My Hero, Yu Yu Hakusho, Dragon Ball. So there's like the list too, and that's the thing, is it's become so well established that there's so many great shonen that you can now just jump to and watch. It's kind of hard to place Bleach yet. It almost needs to be, as I give context to the other stuff, of like the whole package kind of deal. Obviously, 1,000 Year Blood War still going, but it's up there. I just think it would benefit from me watching it like back, to have a little bit of the nostalgia would help, right? But thus far, I'd say it's really good. Where would you put it? Like,
I wasn't sure how to answer that question, and I think your point of, I don't know if I'm going to be able to give it a true placement because I don't have a full picture. And obviously the picture isn't done since 1,000 Year Blood War is still going, but I'm enjoying it. I wouldn't say, thus far it would be in my top 5. I think I'd have to, like, the jury would still be out until I see the full show.
Which pure disclaimer on that is, I'm very I make sure to say it all the time on our pod, but anime and our reviews on it or non-reviews, I should say, are so predicated on what's going on in life, because there's been so many times where let's start this show and something's not clicking and we stow it and then we come back and then it's just incredible. So I'm thinking that I don't think I could in full honesty say, I could give a proper place in a Bleach, because I just think life has been chaotic enough. I don't think the schedule of even watching it's been chaotic. So I don't think we're doing it a service of how we're watching it, but us going back to it all the time, we would have dropped a lesser show for sure based on how our life is right now. But it's a badass show and we're enjoying it to the point where I think we're going to be very pleasantly surprised, and especially considering how many people are super into it. It's no One Piece, but, we'll see. And actually, that's, I think, going to be the most exciting thing, is eventually, by the time I'm 72, we're going to watch Naruto, we're going to watch One Piece, we're going to try and get through these shows. And that's, I think, going to be the cool thing, is comparing, the big three. I don't want to do a disservice to One Piece, but I'm sure you can recognize that 1,000 episodes plus is bonkers. The only show surpassing it, which I don't think is enough credit, is that little detective, that little bastard Conan. I can't believe
Case closed.
I can't believe that has that many episodes. We ended up finding that out middle of an episode. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Because when we went to Japan, and you couldn't get away from him. He was everywhere. One Piece was everywhere. So
it's still going.
Dedication to both shows over there. But only time will tell. I think there's already an immense respect whether we get our socks knocked off or not. But it's like there's already so much respect that we get it for sure, I think. Yeah.
I think that's a great point, that if we weren't enjoying it, knowing how many episodes, 366, not including Blood War. We know what kind of undertaking that is. So I think if we thought any less of the show, it would have already been, we're not doing this. For the sake of the podcast and just being able to enjoy a show that is maybe 12 episodes for 2 seasons. Or a couple 24s or stuff like that. We definitely would have just cold turkey just stopped. So
100%.
Yeah. And I definitely feel like once you guys catch up, you'll see the shift once you start 1,000-Year Blood War arc. And like an interesting fun fact from it, he rushed the finish of Bleach. Kubo rushed the finish of Bleach. So there were a lot of things that were cut out that we're getting in the 1,000-Year Blood War arc.
Okay.
And so, it's actually like, it's a really good experience. And I think once you guys get to that point, and you'll be, depending on when you get there, you'll be experiencing something new with the older fans. Because we've all been waiting. He was like rushed to finish, I think, by like chapter, I can't remember the chapter number. It may have been like chapter 700 or something like that. And so there were a bunch of fights left unfinished. There were a bunch of like storylines that were started that had no conclusion, or they were just dropped mid-thing. And so, he's already tied some in already with the cores of 1,000-Year Blood War that are out already. And so that's one thing I feel like drew a lot of people back, and the fact that the animation is top notch now as well. I'm not like a big animation guy, but the 1,000-Year Blood War arc is beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful. And I think even in the anime, you'll see his progression as an artist from, the first couple of episodes to once you make it through the Arrancar arc. You'll see like how clean his character designs are and how intricate they are, and just his development as an artist. And I feel like they're really doing it justice now.
Awesome. Yeah, that's, I think, the saddest part about a lot of, obviously, the major things, and the fact that these shows and the manga that they're based upon, obviously, it's even more impressive that we get these stories as we do, because you hear of the nightmares. Obviously, as much as I'm up the show's keister, Yu Yu Hakusho is one of those things that, like, people, they're like, oh, after the Dark Tournament, just drop it, like it's shitty. And it's like, no, I don't think it's shitty. It's just, it doesn't maybe end how you want. And then you've got Tagashi, who's like, well, yeah, Shonen Jump was squeezing the life out of me. Like, life was hell. The poor guy's going through, so I mean, so I can only imagine Kubo's probably was at certain points, and you know, obviously some fights getting cut because, like, I need it done this day. It's like, it's honestly just incredible to even be able to enjoy art when you know how hard it is to get it out.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of the money-making thing that comes into anime and manga theoretically should kill a lot of the joy. So it does take some special people, which obviously the big three authors and Takashi, to be able to do it not once but twice. Although granted, obviously some inspiration, but it's just good to be living in a time where we get to enjoy all these projects that theoretically shouldn't be made, but we're lucky enough that it's happening.
Definitely, and I'm looking forward, because Hunter x Hunter is coming back. I'm excited about that. I'm hoping that the anime gets a continuation. I mean, I feel like with the way things are going, because there's a Hunter x Hunter video game coming out. There's the manga continuing, and so I'm hoping the anime gets a continuation as well. That would do something for me, because Hunter x Hunter is probably like my second favorite. And I mean, I don't know. Yeah, it's a solid number 2. I feel like if it would have continued, it probably would have snuck into number 1 until recently with One Piece. And so, yeah, I'm excited that it's coming back.
Absolutely. Yeah. And just the way he treats characters is so great too. I think that's why Yusuke, for a lot of people growing up, was such, like, as I said, like Ichigo not being a typical shonen character, Yusuke takes that and goes, whatever, shut up, dude. He's such an interesting punk that, like, just hit at the perfect point in life that I think it can certainly translate to the younger audience, but I think there's a certain age group that's like, when you're a Yu Yu Hakusho fan, it's just a done deal. Hunter x Hunter, we had several people like, oh, let's just do, when we were living at our townhouse, it's like, let's just watch Hunter x Hunter, let's have group thing. The silence in that room during that Ant Arc, the finale of the Ant Arc, there's not been an experience for me in anime like that. Just a group of adults just sniffling as these credits are rolling. One of my favorite moments for sure. And with One Piece, I hope to eventually watch that show big time. But have you played the card game?
I have not. I actually had a set sent to me. And I have not had, because I've had a couple of people send me some things, and I haven't had a chance to, like, I want to do something special, because it's like the guys from Wake the Dead, they sent me like their first physical copy.
Oh, awesome.
Same thing with Next Step Comics and Pepper Piper Monster Hunter. They're sending me the first copy of their first issue. And I mean, even some other people, like somebody sent Fifine, I think is what they're called, sent me a microphone, and so I've had like some things sent to me that I haven't had the opportunity to like show yet. And so I don't know, probably maybe my next episode, or I may squeeze it in, just like somewhere in there where I'll get to show these things off and be able to properly tell these people thank you.
That's awesome. That's great. Can't beat support, man. It's dedication. Obviously, you're getting out there. You're getting people on. So I think it's great that you're getting some attention back, and it was great to even be asked in this, and I appreciate you obviously taking a look at our little show and joining us in the Discord. It's been fun for sure.
Definitely. I'm glad you guys were willing to come on and speak with me. And I guess before we wrap up, can you plug, your website, social medias, Discord, everything?
Oh, sure. Not too active on Instagram. It's kind of just a running joke of we're going to post at some point, maybe. Hold your breath. But I Married a Weeb Pod on Instagram. But the big one and the easiest way to kind of just find us in general is imarriedaweeb.com. We just opened up our first merch store. That's kind of our biggest way of like supporting us. So we've had a lot of people who wanted shirts, and I think it's helps build that community. Obviously, having shirts that you can kind of match with and stuff, and it helps that Danielle and me going to art school and being designers, we were able to design kind of a cool little shirt. So, but yeah, imarriedaweeb.com. Check us out in there. We're not gonna knock your socks off, but hopefully, it's a show that you can kind of just chill with us. I think it's been a good road for both of us to kind of just, one, get more confident in speaking into a microphone, one of the most unnatural things on the planet, including now that we're doing video, being in front of a camera, more of the behind the camera guy. But yeah, I think that'd be the big thing. And obviously joining our Discord is on our website. So if anyone ends up listening, likes what they're seeing, first, obviously, make sure you are in SideQuest Hustle Discord first. We won't be accepting anyone who isn't in there. But yeah, it's just a good community where we just show off people's travels. We got a guy that we ended up meeting him in real life. He came down from Michigan, and we had dinner with him. And actually, it's happened multiple times. We're kind of good friends with him now, and he ended up going to the Philippines and Japan and stuff, and he keeps us updated with pictures and stuff. So it feels a lot less of like we're building a community. It's just more of like our group of friends is growing. We don't have a large following, nor do I think that it would be something that we would want to attain, because I think with fast growth comes more issues, and you could potentially lose yourself and get into that. It's not me just justifying why we're such a small podcast, but it's been so nice to take the time to meet everyone, find people who are like, hey, just found you. Feels like I'm just in a room talking to two friends, and it's like, that's the most heartwarming stuff. You can't beat that. We've made a lot of friends through it. And sorry, I'm crowding the whole thing. Do you want to plug anything?
No, you hit everything.
Yeah. Plug like Inuyasha. You love that show. Why should people watch Inuyasha?
The miasma.
The miasma. It's always coming to get you. Such a good one. But no, big thanks to you. I very much appreciate you having us on. And it's good. This is the first time we've interacted with other podcasts, but we are so, we're just in the Midwest doing our own thing, that it's nice to actually, interact and talk to other people who are in the same situation, especially when you've got, as much kids as you do and can fully really grasp the lifestyle we're trying to do, between, as we said, and it's a big thing with the podcast. It's like fitting in the podcast. It's fitting in being great parents, because it's so lame when you become, like, you hear about parents before and you're like, okay, kids are fine. Keep your hearts, dude. And then it happens and you're like, this is the greatest moment ever. It's like, I want to be there all the time. So it's juggling that. I'm currently trying to work on a music video. What am I talking about? A video game, working full time. There's a lot of stuff we're trying to do around here. She's always trying to sew. That never happens because she's super mom, and it's more so just making our kids, smart as a whip up there. So it's like, yeah, we're just living life and letting anime kind of come along with us at this point.
Well, I definitely appreciate you guys coming on. You'll have to come back sometime in the future. Maybe once you guys wrap Bleach up, we can maybe do something after you guys cover it. And I definitely want to see what you guys think of some of the later filler. Like I said, one of my favorite arcs is a filler arc that takes place later on. Mm-hmm. And so I definitely want to see you guys take on that.
Heck yeah.
Cool. And so, I guess to wrap us up, Thank you guys for listening. If you made it to this point, be sure to follow us on all social medias and streaming platforms at the SideQuest Hustle. And we will catch you guys next week. Thank you.